The smell of hot asphalt hit me before I even saw the flashing lights of the mixer truck in my driveway, and the cold lake air felt like it punched a hole straight through my chest. It was 7:12 a.m. on a Friday, May 3, 2024, when I walked out with my coffee and almost dropped the mug. There were cones on my grass. A crew was pouring a beautiful, shiny black strip of pavement straight down toward the water. At the edge of it stood our HOA president, the neighborhood Kenan, Brenda Kensington, in a bright white tracksuit, barking at the workers and waving a clipboard like she owned the entire shoreline. My easement, my sanity. So here's the fight in one line. Brenda paved 6 feet onto my lakeshore and had no idea I am their surveyor. Cedar Ridge HOA likes to call this side of the lake a shared amenity, but the deeds show individual lots with a narrow protected strip by the water. I know because I drew half those lines before I ever bought here. I picked this place for the quiet, the fog on the water in the mornings, the loons. Not for a private racetrack running across my backyard. Watching that pavement creep past the old oak where my kid used to hang a hammock, my hands started to shake. I tried the nice route first. I walked down, heart pounding, and told Brenda the work had to stop because they were on my lot and inside the lake buffer. She didn't even look at me at first. She just flicked a glance over her sunglasses and told the crew to keep going. Then she said, I was confused. The board had approved a Cedar Ridge lakeside promenade, and if I had concerns, I should email the generic address. Behind her, a couple of neighbors stood with folded arms, eyes glued to the ground. One mouthed sorry when she turned away. I did email. I called. The only answer I got was a canned message about community improvements and how I should embrace change. That same night, when I walked down to take photos, a patrol car rolled up because someone reported a trespasser near the equipment. Timeline Item 1. April 5th at 4:27 a.m. False trespass call. That was my line in the sand. I decided if they wanted to weaponize the HOA, I would weaponize the truth. But only through proper channels. No yelling matches. No petty stunts, just facts. What they still didn't know was that I'm a licensed land surveyor in this state, and my name. Arthur Mitchell is already on the record for Cedar Ridge. I went to my office, spread the original plats on my kitchen table, and pulled the county GIS maps and the environmental overlay. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. I filed a formal complaint with the city building department, a separate one with the county environmental office, and sent a quiet packet to the HOA's management company and their insurance carrier. In our state, you cannot build a hard surface within 20 feet of the natural lake line without a permit, no matter what your HOA president tells a paving crew. The fun part started when public records got involved. The city clerk emailed to say my complaint was accepted and attached the compiled record. When I printed it at the office, the file landed with 63 pages. Permits that didn't exist. Meeting minutes that never mentioned a promenade. An old signed survey mine with iron pins marking the exact boundary, now hiding under fresh asphalt. I added one more piece, a report to the police about that dawn trespass call, with copies of the call logs and body cam timestamps. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. I didn't need anyone arrested. I just needed someone with a badge to stop taking Brenda's word as gospel. 2 weeks later, the trap snapped shut in broad daylight. The city inspector scheduled a site visit and invited the HOA, the contractor, and any affected owners. Brenda showed up in full performance mode, dragging half the board behind her. The crew parked their trucks, expecting a quick sign-off. I arrived in my work boots with my tripod and survey gear over my shoulder. At first, Brenda told me owners weren't allowed in the work zone and tried to direct me back up the hill. Then the inspector walked up, shook my hand, and called me by my professional title in front of everyone. You could feel the air shift. I set up my tripod, pulled the original plat from my binder, found my old iron pin with the metal detector, buried under the edge of her brand new asphalt. We ran the line. The numbers didn't lie. That lovely promenade cut 6 feet into my lot and straight into the protected lake buffer. Neighbors started drifting down as the inspector's face went red. He took photos, paced out the distance, and then turned to Brenda and the board. The words unpermitted structure, encroachment, and environmental violation came out in very calm, very clear sentences. He slapped a bright orange stop work notice on one of the stakes. The contractor stared at it, then at Brenda, like he wanted his deposit back. She kept insisting the HOA approved it. The HOA owns the lake. The HOA this and that. But the inspector just pointed at my survey and the county map. The best part was when he asked who had signed the permit application. Turns out, there wasn't one. By then, half the street was watching. People recorded on their phones, trying not to laugh when the inspector made the board members line up and take their own photos of the notice. Someone posted a clip to our neighborhood group with a caption about karma finding you with a clipboard. Views climbed all afternoon. Kids rode their bikes down just to stare at the big orange paper like it was a movie prop. For once, I wasn't the weird guy by the lake. I was the guy who'd finally stood up to her. One neighbor brought me a coffee and quietly admitted they'd been afraid to speak up because Brenda always hinted she could make life hard at renewal time for amenities. The authority flip hit even harder the next week. The same officer who had answered the false trespass call came back. This time to take my full report with the binder on the table between us. He listened as I walked him through the logs. I watched him realize he had walked onto my lot that night because someone lied. The HOA's insurance rep sent a stiff letter to the board, saying the policy would not cover intentional violations in personal projects and hinting at fraud. The board held an emergency meeting. Minutes later, an email went out. The HOA would not pay for removing the illegal pavement or the fines. That was all on Brenda. Between city penalties and restoration costs, people whispered numbers like $6,400 in fines and another $3,000 in repairs, all out of her pocket. They also voted in a new rule that any future project near a property line had to use an independent surveyor. They asked me to serve on the compliance committee. I said I'd help, but only if rules apply to everyone, including the president. The aftermath has been quieter, the way a lake should be. The pavement is gone now, chipped up and hauled away in sad little chunks. Grass is coming back. The shoreline looks like itself again, with reeds instead of tire marks. Brenda still lives here, but she walks past my place fast. Eyes straight ahead. No more waving clipboards. The board meetings are suddenly very calm. Last weekend, I helped my neighbor's son find the tiny brass survey caps along his side yard. He thought it was treasure hunting. We stood at the water's edge as the sun went down, talking about how lines on paper protect real places. For the first time since I moved here, it felt like a real community, not a tiny kingdom with a plastic crown. Please subscribe to HOA Conflicts for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.